This is SPY. Here are your price targets for Tuesday. We ended the day at $492.55. To the north side from where we are takes us to a gap fill starting at $493.71. It fills out at roughly $494.28. The middle of the trend and back to resistance takes us to $494.99. Also, this could be a potential take profit area. The next level that I am tracking takes us to 2 standard deviations, and that is roughly 498.89, 586 cents, and above that at 4 standard deviations, which I do not anticipate we will get there on Tuesday, 502.90. To the south side, 491.12. 489.04, and 487.09. The RSI is turning down on the 5-minute, looking left. Note the sell-off here at resistance, and this gap closed to the upside at 490.91, and then we made it all the way to 496.04. Support down here and a bounce to the upside. That move was an increase of 2.71%, and that was from the 31st to the 2nd. So in that short of a time period, that's a pretty good return. That beats the bank all day long. The next one I want to go over is Apple. We ended the day at 187.68, up nearly 1%. Here are your targets for Tuesday. We are at support. Resistance takes us to 189.77. Another level of resistance, 190.76. 191.83. And obviously there are many other levels of resistance through here, but this is all I am tracking. To the south side, 185.76, 184.73, 183.72. Looking left, note the sell-off here close to resistance. And now I will anticipate a bounce off of support. The RSI will get down to here and then revert back up again. And we reported earnings on the 1st, which I talked about very briefly, but we made the earnings and the revenue reports. Now this gap that I was tracking closed today, so congratulations if you played that gap fill. I will delete that. That is no longer something we will be tracking. It's closed out. But note this morning, this was on Friday. This gap, we gapped down. So what happens when we gap down? We anticipate a gap to the upside, and it touched right there. So that is done as well at 186.64. So if you bought down here, this would be an area to take profits as well. All right, next one is Palantir. We reported earnings, and this stock took off like a rocket. In after hours, I saw it hit $19 and something. But right now, as of this recording, it's at $18.81. Now, I will mark this out. This is where we ended this evening. Obviously, in after hours, we are running. So here are your targets, potentially, because this will change. The lines will change in the morning since this has ripped. But right now, the middle of the trend takes us to 1685, 1722, 1741, and 1762 to the south side, which we are not going south. Well, we might go down there a little bit just to go back up again. 1645, people will be taking their profits and running as well, though. So anticipate that. 1627 and 1608. There you are for the earnings and revenue. Very nice. Now I'm going to flip this over to the 15-minute and see. I'll talk about my trade in just a moment. That only takes us at 1793 on the daily. As you can see, I have tracked this. Actually, I don't like that. I have tracked this many times. This is the 4-hour right here. I've got to clean this chart up. So on the 4-hour chart, we are right here. Back to the middle of the trend takes us to 1768. The area of resistance at 2 standard deviations is 2066. $22.22, and another level of resistance and potential take profit area, $23.72. And to the south side, we have a gap that takes us to $13.94 that I've tracked a while ago. You'll be lucky to buy it at that price again. That's definitely a dip buy. $13.14 and $11.61. The last time I bought some was at $14.70, it looks like, but I have many other shares below that. But, oh, I guess I bought in at $10.73 as well. I should change that to a pink line because that indicates typically my buy-in. But we have a gap down here as well that has not filled out, and that takes us to 10.23. Now I want to show you one other thing. I will flip this back to the 5-minute. But obviously in after hours trading, we are at resistance. Oh, what happened is I set a sell order and I forgot to check it last night, as I often do. I get very busy. And this was okay because I'm like, I'm just going to get out here on some shares, take some profit. And it stopped me out this morning and we ran all the way to 1787. And then what happens at resistance? We fall back down to support, up to resistance, down. And then now we're grinding along this trend line, which is the middle of the trend, where price goes through to get to the upside or to the downside. It will rest here or close to here. And, we could go sideways. Just follow the line. That is your middle of the trend. And that changes whether you're playing on the minute time frame, the 5-minute, the 15, the daily, whatever your time frame is. Now, again, this gap down here to 1492. Fingers crossed we don't get that low, but that would be an opportunity to buy in on the dip. And one other one, which is Simon Property Group. Very quickly, I've got to stop. This is getting long. But we announced earnings there after the close. So we're up. That's great to see. And people took their profits, and look at that, starting to go down. In after hours trading, it is up though. So this gap right here, we went down. So naturally, I anticipate a gap up, and we closed it out at 137.84. And from down here, this is support, a run to resistance, and sell off at resistance, sell off, sell off. I don't necessarily have to hear the news. I just look at the chart and I know it's going to come back to earth if we're at resistance, or people will buy in at support. But obviously the news moves this as well. So congratulations if you are up on Simon Group, but obviously we are down for the day. But in after hours, that's a whole different ballgame. Change this to 179. Oops. RSI is turning down, and then I could see we could hit here and then grind sideways and then possibly make our way back up again. All right, that does it for me. That's a look at SPY, Apple, Tesla, Palantir, and Simon Property Group.